I've finished knitting my swatch for the Classic Lines cardigan. I've washed it and I've let it dry, and I just want to show you how much I've learned after it dried. First off, look at the drape. Even though I have touched Allison's original sweater, I forget that because we're using the 2 strands of the wonderful lace weight yarns, the sweater ends up being light and airy but still warm because of the alpaca or the silk or whatever you have in the lace that you chose to use. Okay, the other thing I've learned, which I think is absolutely fascinating, is if you'll remember when I was knitting my swatch, I thought that Allison's instructions to put the color strand in every 6 rounds was too much spacing, and I decided to try every 3 rounds. Now, I think you can see that difference. And I actually decided after it's been washed and the yarn's kind of plumped up and filled in and there's a little bit more of the strand of color showing, I don't like it every 3 rounds. So I'm actually going to go back to Allison's original every 6 rounds in my sweater. That's something neat to learn. Now, of course, the important thing that we want is gauge. We're a little closer to my gauge swatch. I'm realizing that I can show you the steps, but because we're working with a fairly fine, the DK weight gauge, and my yarn is so dark, I'm not going to be able to show you everything perfectly, but I'll show you the steps, okay? So now I have my swatch. It's been washed, just like I plan on washing the sweater. Now you'll know I'm always telling you to knit your swatch a good amount wider than the 4 inches you're going to use for measurement. And now you can understand why. The stitches on the edge tend to get a little distorted because of everything that's happening, whether you've cut it or whether you've just knit a flat piece of swatch. These stitches are essentially useless, about I'd say a finger's length in, are essentially useless. So what you want to do, and we have this ruler which I designed and I absolutely adore, you've got a 4-inch red stripe right in the magnifying glass. And what it does is you put it underneath a row of stitches. In my case, I'm probably going to choose one of the color rows because it's a little easier to see with my dark fabric. And then you can use the magnifying glass to count your stitches going all the way across the line, divide by 4, and you'll have the stitch count for the Classic Lines cardigan. Now, so you know you don't have to use this ruler, okay? Another way you can do it is to actually just put a flat ruler down on your piece of fabric, put pins right where that ruler is, and then count the stitches between your pins. And that will give you your gauge count as well. It's just a little easier to read with the magnifying glass, and at my age, anything like that is helpful. Okay, now we're done with our swatch. Time to get started with the sweater.